Warning: the following episode of That Mental Ginger Show contains strong language and adult themes.
Alright, troops.
This episode of That Mental Ginger Show is recorded at Scuff Studios in Swanston Street, Glasgow. If you're looking to do podcasts, music, or any creative passions, these guys will have you covered. For more information, contact Scuff Studios at scuff.studios.gla@gmail.com or find them on Facebook or Instagram and drop them a message. Scuff Studios, to nurture your creative passions. Hello and welcome to That Mental Ginger Show with your host Andrew Durning, aka The Mental Ginger. Well, my three faithful followers, I've actually done it. I've scored a big fish. I've scored one of the big names in the comedy scene, someone who has been touring with some of the best Scottish talent in the world, and I've been very fortunate to share a stage with her, Clair Myychael. Clair, thank you so much for coming along.
You're more than welcome.
The last time that I saw you was when I was 23 and we were in the production Move Over Mrs. Markham.
I recall.
Yes, you wanted to leave the rest of it out for legal reasons?
No, not at all.
No, because they've already heard the story of when Ronnie, our director, may he rest in peace, had said to us that we needed more passion in one of our scenes. So I just went, screw it, why not? And just went and gave you a massive kiss, and then you were like, wasn't expecting that. And me being young and stupid, I was like, yeah, I did it, made someone forget the lines, way. And now I instantly regret it and always wanted to apologise, so I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry. That was a really mental time.
It really was, wasn't it?
Firstly, because that passionate kiss that you're talking about was day one.
Yeah, it was.
Within minutes of stepping onto the stage.
And probably within minutes of us actually just going, I'm Andrew, I'm Claire.
Which was a wee bit unsettling.
Yeah, well, I'm surprised I didn't wind up in court for that one.
So that was my first ever stage kiss.
Was it?
Yep.
Sorry.
Trying to be all cool, laid back and all that. But
yeah.
I do this all the time, do a fuck.
In fairness, it was only my second. And the first one, I was actually dating the girl at the time. So that's why it wasn't awkward. But yeah, it was the same deal. I did appear more awkward than I probably was, but I was just like, that switch just went, right, he's telling me to do that. But at least if I do it, the only way I can go is scale back.
Okay.
But no, he actually wanted more from that. So that was slightly disturbing.
Well, I was trying to be cool, and Fran was doing prompting.
Oh, yeah.
Lines.
Yeah, she was assistant director, wasn't she?
She said she had her face buried in the book, and she was just going, no, 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 and she can hear talking, and then silence. And then she looked up, and my face was like a fucking traffic light. I think the heat was coming up from my feet. I was that embarrassed. But I was trying to be all cool about it. And I couldn't speak momentarily. Mm. And then when we got off stage, we were downstairs, it was on a break, and you said to me, oh, we do more of that kissing. And I'm like, oh, fuck, right, see, what it is I've just...
Now, my face is going like a traffic light.
And I smoked at the time, and I'm like, I've seen what it is, Andy, is I've had coffee and cigarettes, and then you piped up with, which fucking really got me going, you piped up with, don't worry about it, I've had the chicken Kievs for my dinner.
Oh.
It's like, okay, fucking hold me back.
Oh dear God.
It was, that's, I've come right in myself there. I've transported myself back to that moment on stage where I was like, I nearly swallowed my own head.
Mm. Well, Claire, it's been lovely having you on.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We fucking rocked that show.
We did.
Baseballs.
We did, in fairness, and the whole point of it was that people thought that my character was gay from the get-go because it was very extravagant and an interior decorator. Yes. So when that happens, it's meant to be a shock value. Yeah. So we just did our job.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend at the time was in the audience. Mm-hmm. And then afterwards, she slapped me so hard she almost dislocated my jaw.
Wow.
So I must have done something right.
Okay.
Yeah. So now we've had a wee reminisce of memory lane. What I like to do with every guest that comes on is talk about their origin story, because everybody's got one. It's the one thing we all have in common. So Claire, in your own time, please tell our 3 faithful followers your origin story.
So, you want to know how I got into stand-up writing, acting? Is that how that came about?
Where it started and kind of what drove you to it, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so I was a gymnast when I was young. I was in the British team.
Wow.
And then I say the British team because it sounds better. I was in the British zone squads. 12 years in the Scottish gymnastics team, trained for several Commonwealth Games teams, working up to Victoria in Canada, where I broke and dislocated my finger. Bit of an intimate affair with the beam at the time.
All right.
So I thought, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to hang about for Kuala Lumpur, because it's every 4 years?
Mm-hmm.
Or will I grow tits? The tits one. Yeah. So that one.
Well, in fairness, good job.
Smash. Good job till you have children. They fall down below your knee.
Was it they say that the bigger they are, the further they fall? Or is it gravity this time? It's personal.
I don't think that's just boobs they're talking about.
No, it definitely isn't.
Things there,
it isn't. Well. Gravity definitely takes a toll on everything.
Yeah.
It's just why does gravity always have to go down? I never understand that.
So then went and got married, had kids, and then divorce.
Oh.
And divorce was a fucking beautiful portal into the world of creativity. And it was an outlet, a catharsis for all my pent-up anxiety that I'd developed from being married. So,
yeah. Right, I've got to ask, did you have a divorce party?
See, I didn't have a divorce party as such. It took me a fucking long time to get it. But what I did get was a certificate. And when I got the certificate, maybe wrote in the felt pen, the blue felt pen, as I recall, freedom, right across it.
Well, in fairness, that blue, Scottish
But what I
freedom.
didn't realise, Andy, is that you have to present that fucking document to all numbers of authorities.
My God.
So I had the freedom divorce certificate. So,
oh, man. Well, how old were you when you got divorced?
Seeing past 21, I can't mind. I was maybe 20. Oh, no, that's a lie, because I had one of the kids when I was nearly 29. It's maybe about 31.
31.
Something like that.
Right, so what made you think of the creative outlet, what to start with? What one piqued your interest first?
Well, nothing. What happened was I was fucking bored. I was a lonely, bored, single mother, and I had this huge void, and I couldn't quite work out why. And then further down the line, I thought to myself, hang on a minute, it's performing. I'd put so much on hold when I had the kids and whatever else, but I had to remember that I spent, since I was 5-year-old till I was 21, essentially, in a gym. And then if you're doing maybe a competition, you run down for a vault, you do somersaults, you're on the bars, it's to shock and it's to thrill. And I was fucking used to it because I was good at it. Yeah. And I used to walk past people and they go, oh. And obviously the ego,
Yeah, the ego has landed.
So I realised it was performing. So I signed myself up to go and do acting. An HND in acting performance. I had no idea that such a thing was possible. Again, because I'm fucking old now. When I was younger and I was in a classroom and people would say, this teacher would say, oh, what are you going to do when you're older? And doctor, dentist, drive a van, whatever. I was going to be one of the kids from Fame.
All right.
And the fucking class erupted laughing. So I just put that right in the back burner, going, that's madness. That's never going to happen. But I became a ballsy wee bitch and I developed a voice when I got divorced. So before I know it, I was 36 away and learning how to do the acting, mixing with all the young team.
Yeah.
When I came out of school, I had nothing, no qualifications, nada. Okay, my head was in the clouds. Well, I probably was a clown, but it was in the clouds. And not because I didn't have any ability, because I just wasn't. I mean, my brother was the dux of the school, you know, all band wins, A's for his hires, degrees, core physics, guitar, flamenco at the Royal Scottish Academy, first choice.
Yeah.
You know, like, there was ability there, it's just I didn't know it. And I was too busy. If I was sitting in the classroom, then I was sitting going, and I was in a beam routine, I was doing a double back, I was doing something, I was looking out the window and fantasising about doing a Yurchenko in the vault. That's where I was. So I came out of school with nothing. Well, that's a lie. I got the PE prize for the school and my dance.
In fairness, that's more than I got. I got bye. That was better.
Well, academically, nothing. Absolutely nothing. Nothing. So when I went and started doing the acting, I realised that I could write characters and I could write plays and I could develop all these little things that just weren't ever part of my world. My language, my literature, everything increased. You know, everything, like, just seemed to then become a magnet for a sponge for any information at all. I was researching stuff, reading stuff, more books than I'd ever looked at in my life. And before I knew it, I was overnight creating a show. I couldn't watch the television because I would be sitting going, I've just thought of a sketch. And I would be writing it down. Television is banned in my house, essentially, apart from lockdown, where I completed Netflix. But television is banned in my house because I can't look at something and see something happening, but I don't want to go and write about it.
Yeah.
So I wrote shows for the Fringe Festival and I started doing improv and all those sort of stuff, and then I did more and more shows and I just tapped into my own life. I wrote shows, Welcome to the Dark Side, Creme de Passionelle. What else did I write? You forget, she goes. Shut Up and Wear It, 50 Shades of Clair.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that one. 50
Did
Shades
you?
of Clair, yes.
Well, that was a Glasgow International Comedy Festival win. What did you hear?
Well, I heard nothing but good things about it.
Well, I want to hear those good things.
Would
You not?
Yeah, of course you would want to hear them. But it was basically along the lines of, you know, what sensational, what, because I don't want to blow up your ego too much. A lot of it was sensational, and hilarious.
I don't think I paid anyone for such things.
Well, there we go. It was first I couldn't afford to pay anybody to say such things.
Anyway, it probably was then. I mean, I'm just taking their word for it.
Yeah. Well, it was nothing but good things that I'd heard about it. And obviously, you've been on the circuit for, well, how many years have you been on the circuit now?
See, I keep going back and forward with this because my arrival to anything creative was when I was 36. I'm now 48, so that's 12 years, right? I trained for 2 years as an actress, but I started dabbling with characters and doing stuff. It all becomes a bit fuzzy. And then I stopped for a couple of years, and then by accident I was in Aberdeen and I was playing a character at a comedy show, and I was playing an old maid, and she'd like essentially pubic hair bits in a hat, right?
All right.
You know, the little grey hair.
Yeah.
Okay. And the costume, and I would go on as her and made her a bit filthy, and I was up in Aberdeen and I went to put it on, and the hat and the thing, mentally I could see it sitting on my sofa, and I'm like, oh, I've not got it.
Yeah.
There's no way I can get up and stand and be an old 80-year-old woman. And they said, well, why don't you just get up and be yourself? What? So that's what I done. And I just told stories about myself, and they asked me to come back, and then they asked me to come back, and then they asked me to come back again. And so it was an accident. And when you're a single mum, right, and you've got no fucking social life or anything else, and someone's paying you to go and do something, and it's also a social night, and you can justify that, oh, I can leave the house. Oh, it's work.
Yeah.
Fucking ball.
Yeah.
And more often than not, a lot of the times in the initial stages, you know, we've talked about play, and I've heard you discussing it in some of your other shows. But
Proof someone actually watches it that's beyond the Three Faithful. Thank you.
I mean, I was told, they did tell me.
Yeah, I did slip her a 20. It was all right.
Um,
And that sounds wrong saying I slipped him. Slipped you one. Oh, God, I'm sorry. Well, so that's been cancelled for the 20th time.
right, so I fucking
continue.
forgot my train of thought there. What was I telling you?
You're talking about Aberdeen. And the comedy circuit and the
so
social
I could
nights.
justify working. Could justify it. Getting out. And obviously when it was pay as you, like, not pay as you play, but turning up and only being paid in alcohol, got quite interesting for me.
Yeah, that definitely would get quite interesting for a lot of people, especially in Scotland.
I wouldn't come home with any money, but I'd be absolutely hammered. Yeah.
That just sounds like an average
Which is-
Glasgow mum, doesn't it?
Which has got a shelf life, Andy. That's got a shelf life.
Yeah.
You can only do that for so long.
Well, I couldn't even do it when you were meant to do it. I struggled with that. Any type of alcohol, and I was like, oh, no, not me. So, what would you say was probably one of the, maybe like your kind of sink or swim kind of gig, the one where you think you've done it and you're like, I've arrived. I know that I can do this now. I'm good at it. Because you are good at it, because people I constantly see you gigging, put up gigs all over social media. When then we had lockdown, then I seen even more gigs coming, and I always knew that you had a really, really good wit about you, just from like when we had rehearsals and we would.
Well, I guess try and hide that all the time. Yeah. Try and hide that.
Yeah, well, in that environment, it was a bit hard to sometimes be yourself. But I always liked that we could kind of just talk and banter and have a bit of a laugh. You were kind of like a comrade in arms at that point for someone that was very like insecure and struggling a lot of the time. So I was always really appreciative that you took the time to actually speak to me, because not a lot of people did.
Well, maybe I recognise and knew what I'd seen in myself, because I was insecure and struggling most of the time. You just get good at pretending that you're not, that's all. And then the more you pretend, then the more you actually aren't. So it kind of balances itself out. I would say an answer to that question would probably shut up and wear it. And it was Clair Myychael's comedy peep show. And I played multiple characters. I think maybe 14 or 15 characters over the hour.
Wow.
So I had a screen and I would come out as a character, all written by myself. So I would go out as a character, do my soliloquy monologue, bounding about the stage, cartwheeling backflips and whatever else, obviously. And then run in the back as there's music playing, quick change, and do a party popper so that the tech guy would know to put the next track on.
Yeah.
That was just snippets of tracks, but it kept people alert, and I'd come out as the next one and the next one. And it was high energy. But some of the comments I got, because I thought, look at me, I'm just being a bit of a dick. Just carrying on, playing whatever else. People won't like this or whatever else, the usual insecurities. And the feedback I got from that was awesome. Absolutely awesome. And I went, hang on a minute, that's Clair Myychael. She might be all right,
Yeah.
And then so it encouraged you to do more, or you do it with your shoulders a bit further back, or you stand up, or you take an extra pause or a moment, or you create more space, where you're sort of bigger and better, And that helps. And it also helps when you sit down to write or whatever else you're sitting writing, you think, I know I can pull that off. Oh, I can do that. Because there's a big difference between, now that I write mostly, there's a big difference between writing for yourself and what you would say, as opposed to writing for someone else and what they would be credible if they said.
Yeah.
There's certain things that I'll write and that are funny, but there's no way I'm going to try and deliver them or go on stage with, So that again gives me an extra little something that I can explore and play beyond my own shows, because I can give that to them over there. They'll deal with that. They're more suited to that or whatever else.
Who's
So
some of the
just
acts that
builds
you've
and
wrote for?
We're not allowed to say.
We're not allowed for legal reasons, kind of thing. That's definitely a thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
Wow. So do they have to take credit for your stuff?
That's how it works in the high end of comedy. They have a team. In the high end of comedy, they'll sit down with a team, with what they have, and then they'll get add-ons, or someone will give them something and they'll put their own stuff with it.
Yeah.
Back in the day, your Bob Hope days and whatever else, people were shadowed. You went somewhere, you done a thing so that the writer could see how you respond, how you react, what you would likely say in any given situation.
Yeah. That's got to be a bit of a bollock, though,
And
knowing
that's
that
how the
someone has
writer
delivered
about-
your material and getting credit for it.
Yeah, but it's time. It's all about time now. People are doing so many shows now, and you can't. I mean, you couldn't be nearly said a name there. You couldn't be a big name and go touring and doing X, Y, and Z, and always have new material all the time without a little bit of assistance.
Right.
Yeah, but it never gets mentioned. But one of the nicest things about when I do have my television on is sitting watching a show and going, it's maybe live at the polls, something, and going,
Yeah.
that was mine.
Yeah, you wrote that line.
And that's all I need. I don't need anyone to know that was mine. Because the problem with people that moan, like there is a lot of plagiarism. You know, people are always trying to take your ideas. I have absolutely nothing online other than a feature film that I did, Starcash, because I can't pull that off. But I have very little online because it's open to others to take, to interpret in their own way, whatever else. I don't want to go up on a stage and say a little bit of a something that I came up with, but someone else has taken on board and has been heard down the road saying that. Because when I then stand on the stage, they're going to go, oh, that's their joke. Despite the fact I've maybe been doing it 5 years, 10 years, whatever else, you know. So I have an infinitely small amount of things that I'll do. Right? If I'm talking to people, if I'm talking to friends, if I'm talking to society, I will say things that I think are funny or I think that are amusing. But I wouldn't try and do it in this setup. You know? If people want to see anything funny that I do, they'll come to my show to see it. And it'll be new and it'll be fresh because that's why you paid your ticket. You didn't pay your ticket for free information. You don't go into some and do all your best stuff and all your gags and all your lines, because if you do that, you're cutting out your own wages. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
that's like Jim Carrey higher plane of existence stuff going on here.
Yeah, no, but you
The
have
stuff
to
that you
be-
don't, stuff that you've made, what as like, you know, a normie. Well, in that sense, like if you were in the audience going to see it, you wouldn't think about stuff like that. But I guess that's probably like the nature of like the comedy, like business, so to speak.
But if you went to a comedy show and you thought, I'm going to see this guy or this person, and you've done your research, done a bit of a Google check, you've clicked on a video or whatever, you've seen a few things, and then you go, and everything that's there, you hear on that night, well, that's not value, is it? If you're someone of credibility where you can write and write and write and write, I mean, I don't get overly upset when I hear people maybe taking an idea or running with it or something that I've done. Because do you know why? Because I'll always come up with something else.
Yeah.
Because I can. A lot of people can't, and so they'll do a little bit and then they're off the radar. So I don't worry. That's a compliment, I guess. I don't worry.
It's definitely like a compliment to yourself, like that you have that confidence in you that you're like, I can write something else that's funny. I can do that, because I know that I'm that good. What?
Well, I'm not that good, you know. I mean, I'm not saying, oh, look at me, I'm the great I am. I'm not saying that at all.
Yeah, but the way that has been kind of, that you said, is like, if someone uses one of my jokes, I'm like, cool, I can just write another one.
Yeah.
And I can use it for me and for my gigs. And that gives, it's given me quite a bit of an insight for how to develop things, because for that type of live setting, that's the uniqueness of a gig. As an audience member, you're going to a gig and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to watch this. Oh, that was good. And then off you go. You don't think about like the stuff that goes on behind it. I've thought about it in different senses, like for the acting style, where there's a script, we read the lines, we try and deliver them as fresh as we can, we carry on with it. You don't think about the people writing those lines and having to write something else, because they want to keep every idea moving forward and keep comedy as essentially a living thing, as an organic thing, and keeping it going. So that's given me definitely something to think about.
Some acts though don't ever have any writers.
Yeah.
I should point that out.
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, there'll be some that'll be like, right, hold on a minute. But see if those people are actually listening to this, my condolences. Well, you're only tuning in for Claire. You're not tuning in for me. So one thing I did want to talk to you about, in particular, is about women on the comedy circuit. Recently there's been like a good kind of, I think there's been a good resurgence of female comedians, and rightly so. Because there are some fantastic female stand-up comedians, especially Scottish ones as well. How do you feel like it's progressed since you started comedy to where it's kind of got to now?
How would I answer that? Right, okay, so firstly, the first thing is I don't see male and female comedians, I see comedians, right? So
that kind of like the Dave Chappelle thing where it's like they're comedians are my tribe kind of thing?
No, I don't differentiate between males and females. If you're good, you're good. You're a comedian, right? I know people say, oh, she's a comedian. Right, no. There's comedians and there's male and there's female comedians, okay? And they're either good or not. And there just so happens to be some absolute fantastic talent in this country, comedy-wise, and they just so happen to be females. I wouldn't say that it's grown any in the last 10 years. I wouldn't say that there's, greater or higher numbers. There aren't. There aren't. Maybe, we'll hear all the time. I'll go to a gig and I'll come off stage and they'll say, I don't think that, comedians are funny, but you shut up. That's not a compliment, It's not a compliment at all,
No, that's...
But I haven't really answered your question there, have I?
Yeah, but in fairness, you've not answered it because you don't believe that my question is valid, because I'm asking about female comedians, and to you don't see like a gender thing. You just see they're comedians. So that's why you've not answered it, because my question is essentially redundant.
Yeah. Okay.
In your eyes.
But I'm all
this is what proves that how I'm actually really a shit host when I come up against someone who is actually a really solid and talented guest.
Don't ever let me hear you say that again, okay?
I'll try my best, but no promises.
Say that you're shit. Don't ever do that.
Yeah. So let's talk about your yourself and any other gigs. What's coming up? What for you?
Okay, so last night I was in Hamilton. We did the Townhouse. It was smashing. I'm doing some support act gigs for Clair Myychael, and it's fantastic. He works so hard. On this Friday coming, we've got Eden Court in Inverness.
Oh, wow. So
I'll need to look out a wee tartan frock for that one. So I think there's about 850 sold out maybe. So, and Gary just gets better and better and better, and his crowds, they're amazing. They're really there for all the right reasons, and they've been so welcoming in me. The feedback's been really lovely, so I really appreciate that, and I appreciate Gary obviously believing in me. So.
Yeah. How do you feel like doing comedy has had an impact on your mental health, since it is a mental health kind of awareness show, as well as to give you another platform for your craft?
It's the old adage, isn't it? Laughter therapy. Laughter's the best medicine. And the whole tragedy plus time equals comedy, and you sort of reflect back and whatever else that's further down the line. But I think we all need to be taken away as a distraction from a lot of what's going on in the world right now, and a lot of the circumstances that we're in, situations that people are having to deal with. And I think even if it's just a wee half hour or something where you're not thinking about your bank balance, your house, how you're going to do X, Y, and Z, your job, careers, whatever else, you're not thinking about that, and it lets you step away in your mind to something else where you can laugh. Obviously your endorphins and whatever else, is increased and whatever else. And in that moment, in that time, you have a wee escape. And I think we all need that just now. I think the world needs that right now.
Yeah.
So the more of that you can get, the better.
No, definitely. So we're starting to come up on time. So what I will do is ask you a question that I ask all my guests. If you could give one piece of advice to someone who is struggling with mental health issues, what would that piece of advice be and why?
Nothing is ever as bad tomorrow as it feels today. Sometimes you just have to own what's going on in that moment. You have to own it. You just have to accept, right? I'm not feeling great. I've had this before. I'm going to just sit with this. I'm going to acknowledge that it's there, but I'm going to just sit with this. And always remember what I was saying. Nothing's ever as bad tomorrow as it feels today.
It's really good advice, really profound advice as well.
Well, sometimes I can be quite serious, you know.
Yeah. Well, Claire, I've absolutely loved having you on. It's been such a different type of interview for me. Whereas like most of the ones I've had, it's only been like the cleanest. We've had banter. We've maybe touched a little bit on some issues and then carried on. This feels a bit more like a intellectual kind of conversation that we've had. It feels more like I've learned something. And some maybe outdated beliefs that I've had about comedy. You can open my eyes to it.
Yeah.
I'm really, really grateful for this time that we've had together, and as usual, I'm probably going to drag it down into the gutter with my favourite segment, Ask Andrew Anything.
Okay.
So after we have been on the air for how long have we been on the air, Ross, my videographer?
28.12.
28.12?
Aye.
28.12 minutes.
13.
Well, 13. Oh man, if we kept doing this, we'd be here all day, wouldn't we? Well, this is where after, we'll call it 29 minutes of me trying to interview someone who is too knowledgeable. They get to ask me a question that can be about anything. It could be something as ridiculous as why do you always time your shows, to who would win the fight between a mutated jellyfish and a panda. So Claire, do you have a question, probably something that will stump me, because let's face it, you're very intellectual and I will probably crash and burn, but let's fire away. Let's see how we go.
Okay, so nothing intellectual, okay?
Thank God.
I save all my comedy and my banter for the stage, okay? We're not on a stage. Nothing intellectual. Nothing funny and nothing that's too taxing. This one. If you were to have a known famous actor play you in the story of your life, who would it be and who would play your love interest?
Very good question. To start with, I'd need to figure out if I was going to go for a ginger actor or a dyed ginger actor. And I would probably have to go dye job, because the person that I would want would be, for when I'm older, it would be Ryan Reynolds.
Okay.
I love his comedy. He's Deadpool. I like Deadpool. But one thing that I really like about him is that people underestimate how great he is as a serious dramatic actor. I've seen a lot of his dramatic stuff, and he is fantastic. I absolutely love the guy. He's got impressive range, and I just think he would maybe give my story a bit more credibility than it's due. To play my love interest, that's where I'm thinking of Alison and thinking of who I think could match
Just
her.
quickly putting her through the acting lessons. Just quickly. Save an argument.
Yeah, I would. I wouldn't do that to Alison. I wouldn't be like, right, yeah, you're gonna, yeah, because I wouldn't want to see her snogging Ryan Reynolds. She'd run away with him. So I think I would probably have Kate Beckinsale, because Alison loves the underworld films, and Kate Beckinsale's obviously been in those films since she played Celine.
Yeah.
And she planned to dress up as her for one of the first Halloweens when we got together, and it never happened. So at least then I would be able to finally say I've seen my wife as Kate Beckinsale and Celine from Underworld, and I wouldn't feel guilty watching them making out and being like, man, this is weird. It's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek question, but I also think those two they would have great chemistry together. I think there would be a good kind of gravitas to it. And Alison's a very, very strong woman. It's why I love her so much. She's secure in herself, what she knows how to keep people in line. What, and you need a lot to keep me in line sometimes because I'm not exactly the easiest person. I know that. And what I would need someone who I feel could match her. What, and I think Kate Beckinsale could do that. What she's got like she's another one that they underestimate the array of talent that she has. What I feel, what kind of in the industry, and I think she should be in a lot more work than she's probably been due. So I hope that's answered your question.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how Ryan Reynolds would feel doing your most embarrassing incident. I can't even speak now.
Yeah, well, I'm sure some of the most embarrassing instances he would play with the comedic maturity that he has done with Van Wilder, and probably actually give it a bit more sensibility.
Cool.
Now, Claire, thank you so much for coming on and taking time out of your busy schedule to come and slum it with one of your old pals. From a personal point of view, seeing your career kind of blossom the way that it has, how well you've done, the insight you've gained, the general kind of zen vibe I get from you, you're just, everything is so kind of cool. You're so secure with yourself. You're comfortable. You're confident. It's a real privilege.
Sorry, who are you talking about? Me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think it's been a real privilege to watch your career grow and progress the way it has, and I'm really, really grateful that you still do take the time, to talk to me essentially.
Of course.
Again, thank you so much for being on the show.
You're more than welcome. Thank you for having me.
So until next time, my 3 faithful followers, I have been Andrew Durning. This has been the beautiful and talented Clair Myychael. So until next time, take care, stay safe. Bye-bye.